Hi, this is the video for Chapter 11 of the Interactive Citation Workstation and Workbook. This will cover secondary sources. Now, secondary sources generally come in sort of three flavors. The first is periodicals, the second is non-periodicals, and the third, which is actually sort of a subset of both, is electronic sources. So we're going to take a look at the first two, and then I'll tell you a little something about electronic sources once we get to that. So let me share my screen with you. Okay, so the first one is The Brethren, a book by Bob Woodward and Scott Armstrong, published in 1979, pages 196 to 208. Okay, first of all, The Brethren is an excellent book about the Supreme Court, and I highly recommend it. The second, okay, so I'm going to start with my handy-dandy blue book, and I'm going to go to Rule 15. Rule 15 covers books, reports, and other non-periodic materials, which means materials that don't come out monthly, semi-monthly, or quarterly. If you go to Rule 16, which is the very next rule, you'll see that that covers periodical materials. So generally, books are going to be in Chapter 15, articles are going to be, in Rule 15, articles are going to be in 16. Rule 17 covers unpublished and forthcoming sources. Usually you don't have to worry about that too much. And then Rule 18 covers the internet, electronic media, and non-print sources. So generally we're going to focus on 15, 16, and 18. Now these have their counterparts in the blue pages. B15, let me make sure that's exactly right because they changed those blue pages numbers around the last time from the last version. So yes, B15 is books and non-periodic materials. B16 is periodic materials. B17 is court and litigation documents, and so it's a little different than what's in the main body. And then B18 is the internet. So for the three rules that we're going to look at, 15, 16, and 18, there are longer versions in the main body and then shorter versions in the blue pages or the notes for practitioners. Now, keep in mind that the typeface conventions for practitioners are going to be different than those in the main body. So you want to make sure and you double check the typeface conventions within the blue pages. So first of all, if you just go to B15 and look at that at the beginning, it's going to give you several different examples of sources that are books or non-periodic materials. And then within periodic materials, B16, if you look, it gives you different forms for a variety. So there's consecutively paginated journals, non-consecutively paginated, student-written work, newspaper article, short-form citation. And then within B18, we've got direct citations, parallel citations, and short forms. So the first book that we're going to take a look at, The Brethren, obviously this is a book or non-periodic source. And so we're just going to look at B15 for this citation form. If it turned out that it was something a little more complicated maybe than this, then we might want to go to Rule 15 in the main body. But it looks like B15 will get us exactly where we need to go here. So first of all, we look at B15 and we look at some of the citations. And what we see is that the first element is going to be the authors, and that when there are two authors, you can tell from the examples that they're joined with an ampersand. Okay? You follow that with a comma and a space, and then the title of the book, The Brethren. And then you're going to give the page or pages on which the specific material is found. Here it's 196 to 208. Now, if you want to specifically check those pagination rules, then you're going to turn to Rule 3, which gives you all kinds of rules for subdivisions. One of those subdivisions is 3.2, pages, footnotes, endnotes, and graphical materials. And subsection A covers pages. And it shows you that you're going to, for a span of pages, Hold on, let me flip over to the proper rule. So I'm looking at 3.2a, and I'm looking after the example Baker versus Carr. And so it tells you that when citing material that spans more than one page, give the inclusive page numbers separated by an in dash or hyphen. An in dash is slightly longer than a hyphen. Always retain the last two digits, but drop other repetitious digits. So you always retain the last two digits. So we know for sure we're going to include 08. And then it tells us we can drop other repetitious digits. So if this were 196 to 198, we could just do it like this, 196 to 198. But it's 196 to 208. Since 2 is not a repetitious digit, we're going to have to keep that one and then move on to the year. Now, because this is a book with a single we're talking about a single edition. It's not, there aren't multiple editions or foreign language editions. There's not an editor. So we're just going to include the year, and we're not going to include the publisher. And so the year is 1979. Whoops, not 2979. Close parentheses and a period. Now we're going to go back in, and you see in B15 that the names of books are italicized or underlined, one of the two. If you look in Rule 15, you'll see that the title appears in large and small caps. And so that's different in practitioner documents like the ones that you're drafting. So now we're going to move on to something that is a periodical. And a periodical is going to be, for example, a magazine article or a law review or law journal article. So here we have a law journal article. So we're going to go to 16, Rule 16, B16, and it tells you that this is a consecutively paginated journal, as most law reviews and law journals are. So we're going to look at B16.1.1. Look at the example. You're going to start with the author name. So we've got Teresa A. Gabaldon, a comma and a space, and then we're going to have the name of the specific article. So Milbert Wise of studied indifference and dying of shame. And then you see here that after the article name, you're going to have a comma, and now you're going to have the citation. So it's volume 2 of the Journal of Business and Technology Law, and then it's going to be page 209. So to find the proper periodical abbreviation for the Journal of Business and Technology Law, it tells us to go to table 13. So we're going to flip to the back, and we're going to find table 13, which I'm looking for right now. Table 13 gives us abbreviations for periodicals. So it tells you that, first of all, hold on just a second, let me find something. Yeah. So you go to table 13, and it tells you that to abbreviate English language periodical titles, use 13.1, 13.2, and T10. So 13.1 gives you institutions, 13.2 gives you common words. So there's no institution listed here, so we're going to go with common words. So we have, first we have journal, and we see that journal, when we flip over to this part of 13.2, is abbreviated with a single J. Oops, J. And then we're going to omit things like prepositions and connectors like and. So Journal of Business, we flip over to business, and we see that it is abbreviated, whoops, BUS. Now we're going to put a space between J period and BUS period because BUS is longer than one letter, and we separate abbreviations that are more than one letter from other abbreviations with a space. So Journal of Business and technology law. So and is going to be abbreviated with an ampersand. We can see that in T13.2. And then technology, we see if we flip over, technology is abbreviated as we might expect. Technology, T-E-C-H, period. And then the word law is abbreviated L period. So there is our abbreviation for the Journal of Business and Technology Law. Starts on page 209 of volume 2. And now we're going to have the, hold on, we're going to flip back to B16 to see what's next in our citation. And we see that the next thing in our citation is going to be the year of publication, 2007, and then a period. Now, if we look at our example in B16, we see that the name of the article is italicized and the name of the journal appears in ordinary Roman type. And so this is a little bit different than what you'll see in Rule 16 in the main body pages, but we want to follow those practitioners' rules that we find in the blue pages. So that's how you do a book or non-periodic source, and then the second one is how you do a periodic source. It's really important that you pay close attention to the examples because there are a lot of different types of sources and secondary sources, and using the examples will help. Now, some of the sources that you're asked to cite here are internet sources, and some are regular sources where an internet citation is given along with it. So if you're going to add the internet citation along with it, you can usually do that by just placing a comma where the period is and then appending the URL. But again, just like the rest of the secondary sources, you want to pay close attention to the examples, because pretty much for any source you're going to cite, there's going to be some example or even maybe a specific rule in 15, 16, or 18 that will help you out. Okay, so look closely at those examples, stay close to the rules, make sure you're paying attention to font type in the practitioner's notes in the blue pages. Let me stop the share, and good luck.